Welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. And we're doing more hillbilly, how can we put this? Hillbilly jigging. And it's not a dance. What this is I just had some, 1-inch square stock and some table legs and door bars and transmission mounts and I mean all this, this junk. Even an old, take a look, it's an old jack stand that I cut up. This is something you're gonna have to do to make it work. Now, what this is on on the Audi Rally, and this is the section which was not cut. It's all stock. And why did I build the Jag? Is because we need to get the transmission tunnel situated to the same point of a standard 4000 Quattro. Now, the dashboards from the two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive cars were exactly the same. No problem. What was different was the console because they were both different heights. What I'm doing is I'm setting everything up. That center bolt is the same on at least on all the cars that I have, it's always the same. That's where the dashboard bolts into, plus other sections of it here and over there. But that's pretty much where that's my datum is where it's going to be. Now, I have it all set over to here to a bolt into the handbrake lever. It's not going to move. Everything else is set up so this controls exact height and pitch of how the transmission tunnel is going to go in. We need that to make it look correct, so when all the consoles will fit correct. Whether or not I'm going to modify, which I am going to modify all the consoles to make them look a lot closer to a Sport Quattro. But we need to fit in the consoles first to get everything squared away, and we can build towards that. Because if we have the base set up, it just makes everything a lot easier. And I have this rod to the top of the lip of the transmission tunnel. So let's run over to the Sport Quattro. Let's put this on, well, I'm going to at least set this in, bolt it up to that, and then start trying to figure out where the transmission tunnel, how it's going to be manipulated in, and where we're going to have to grind and cut. So let's run over to there. One thing I forgot to mention, make sure the hole is definitely bigger, because you can see this is at an angle down. So you have to have a bigger hole, so when this slides out, this will actually clear and nothing will be disrupted. That's the big thing. Just a helpful safety tip when you actually build the jig. And you can take a look down there. That is at the top of the ridge of the tunnel. That's pretty much where I wanted it to be. This right here is the angle where the shifter comes out. I don't think it's going to work on the tunnel I'm putting in there, but hey, what the hell. And here's the bolt. Take a look. As you can see, this is as close as I could get it, almost virtually no play. And that's what I want, because that's definitely well within how can I put this, manufacturing standards. But this just gives me a good shot. That's about it. Now let's now grab this thing over there and put it in the car. Jig is in. The bolt that's for the handbrake assembly is in the back. This is bolted to the sill where the dashboard sill. This is all to the point where in relationship to the side sills. This is where I'm going off of. The side sills are the key, because if the factory put them on level, that will be level. If the factory put them on level on that car and level on this car, it'll be level on that, and this tunnel will be level. That's the only thing I really care about. Now, I'm going to probably have to make some extensions to cut into the firewall up here. No biggie. I cut this a little too short. Hey, listen, it's my first time. What I got to do now is I want to start joining the back. Because there's really no vital components back here. I can't really cut the front until I pull the motor. Because if you plunge a saw or a grinder through there and nail the housing for the gearbox, it's just like, really? I've already welded up a 944 gearbox. It's just like, you know what, the metal or welding cast aluminum sucks. So it's just not a fun thing, because it's so spotty. Some castings will weld up, some won't. You don't really know, and it's too much of a shot in the dark. So let me get this squared away, or let me get the grinder out. So we're going to start patching this thing all in. This is my main goal. I want to patch this all in. If I can get that in, that really makes me happy. So let me go grab the grinder so we can start, you know, fitting the tunnel in to make this thing an actual shell. One thing I did notice when I was putting this in, I got just a hair. Probably raises it about 3 or 4, like 5 mil in the front, from where it bottoms out here to where it goes up. So what I'm going to do when I weld it, I'm just going to hold this down, and so this bottoms out on the bottom of that floor plate, and that way when I weld it, it's not going to go anywhere. So. Tacked in on 4 places. Let me show you what I'm going to do next to utilize the transmission tunnel to tying in the entire chassis. Back part of the drive shaft tunnel. I'm looking at it right now. With this setup, it's exactly in the middle with the drive shaft. Alright, I'm pretty happy about that. Take a look. This is the mount that was for the 2-wheel drive exhaust. I have to cut this off. And we have to connect this to this right here. But actually, I want to connect it all the way back to here, which is the Quattro section of it. This is the 5+5, this is Quattro. And when I cut this thing off, I started looking through the scrap pile, and I was just going to use some more cabinet material or, you know, or some pieces lying around. Then I found this. Remember this? This was one of the frame rails from the rear. And if you take a look at it, it's bent exactly where I want it to be. So actually it's going to go like this. Like that. If you want to take a look. Here's the tunnel, and this is exactly the way it is. And it'll actually go right to here, to the Quattro section of it, and I'm going to weld right there. So what I have to do now is I'm just going to trim, because you have to remember, I can't bend anything up because of the sliders for the rear of the seats have to get out. So I'll make another plate right down here. But that's no biggie. I want to do it from underneath anyway. Let me first, let me cut this out. Then I'm going to trim this up. Then just start grinding it to meet this. That's all I'm going to do. You know, because everything else is basically in. And that way we can set this stuff all up. This will give me a good start. I'm going to just cut this off and cut this off just to start. Then I'll see exactly what I got, because there's a ton more bends here, and this one goes up over here. So let me just grab grinding disc. I'll zap that out. I'm going to cut proud. I definitely want to sit it up higher like this and come down. Same thing. I'm just going to cut it proud. If I have to, I'll tap it in if I have to. Don't really know, but we got to start somewhere, you know. Well, it's in. It's this is the piece tie-in for the chassis tunnel, or for the transmission tunnel to the chassis. This is still 5x5. This is 4,000. I want to tie these things better together than just having a bead of weld. what I did was I grabbed some of the old pieces out of the tool, I chopped up from the toolbox, pretty thick metal. I'm just going to put it in here. It basically gets to the alignment of here. So I'll weld this plate in, weld it on both sides. That's one tie-in. This be welded to that, here and here and here, and that'll be another tie-in. At least that's what I hope to do. Let me grab the welder. I'm going to tack that in, and we'll get this all welded up. Now the transmission tunnel is at a certain point. That certain point is we need to pull the drive shaft and drivetrain in order to cut the rest and weld it in. No offense or buts about it. I don't want to take the risk of cutting into something that I don't want to cut into and I have to weld. So we'll get on to, this is the next section. What I wanted to do was on the strut towers, I wanted to tie in the lower section with the strut towers into this section right here. And I'm going to do the same thing I did on the Audi rally car. And I'm using the same material. It's the base of the drafting table setup that I'll show you. And I'll bring it right over here and show it to you in a second. Let me cut the door with the whiz wheel and these temporary supports so I can actually have a place where I can put that in there, bend it over, and weld it right up. Because I just want this thing, as stable as possible. And I'm going to keep this bar in here, definitely, just for added protection. And I am going to gusset it with the material that it's going to be left over from me cutting up, for the plates for this. I'm going to use it for the gussets for the bottom floor pan and maybe from over here. Don't really know yet, but I'll figure it out. Let's go over there and I'll show you what I got. This section right here, this is another part of the drafting table. The drafting table, the internal section is what we used on the Audi Rally. This is the external section. This was just more of a bitch to carry, so this is the last thing I'm bringing down. What it is going to cut a section out of here. I'm going to drill a 4-inch hole and cut this thing straight down the middle. What it is half of it's going to be for one side, half of it's going to be for the other. I'll fold it over, make it work. Just do the best I can with what I got. And anything excess on what we have on the bottom, because we're going to have an extra sheet on the bottom, I'm going to use that for the gussets on the rear floor, because this stuff is super thick and super strong, and we might as well recycle it. So let me grab the cutters, and I got the hole saw right there, and let me just blast it out. Basically, I'm going to have 1 foot right here. I'll put it right in the middle, which is 6 inches right there. It's going to be rough. What this is 9 inches in total width. So I want right in the center, which is 4.5, which is right here. And I want 6 inches in. That's where my pilot's going to be. And what it is, the hole saw will take that out. This is just going to be extra. I'm going to trim off. And then I'm going to cut it down, cut it in half, and then cut it down to here. Then mold it to the car. The plate is on the strut tower. It's a little bit off, but when we cut this and push it in, it'll go right on there. Then this will fold back in. It'll be in alignment with here, because remember we cut it on the seam, and now I can weld to the inside of this. The only thing I have to do, basically take a marker, conform it to this, cut it up, we'll get this thing done. I cleaned off the strut tower. It's on. It's where I want it positioned. Yep, it's where I want it positioned. Like right there. It's positioned where I want it to be. I got to weld in a couple tacks right here. Grind this, weld it in, so we can start going for the next thing. I think we're going to be moving upwards. That's not yet determined yet. After I do the other side, I have to see how much time I have on the video, because after that last video, oh my God, was that an awful long time. You saw a little over an hour of it, man. It was like 12 hours of editing video. I mean, of raw video, which means days and days of editing. So, and I'm not going to put you through that again. So I'll try to keep it short, but you know, I just get lost in the track of time, you know. So let me just do this. Let me grab the welder and let's continue on with this beast. Centered on the shock tower. Got to weld it here, we move on to the next thing. Well, I said I was going to be plunge cutting this and welding it together. I kind of made up my mind saying no. Why? Is because what happens if I have to move this around a little bit or whatever, you know, move this here or bend something up. You know, I need to get, the whole reason for doing this is getting the quarter on it. So now's the time. Let's put the quarter on it, because once we put the quarter on it, we can actually, you know, we'll build out the wheel well, and we'll make sure it's completely armored, because the big thing is with fiberglass, rocks and sand and debris, when it hits fiberglass, it just keeps chipping it away, chipping it away, chipping it away, and it just, by the time, you know, let's just say a stage. You go through a stage, that thin of fiberglass that these quarters are made out of will be gone, the bottom part, if it was exposed. Now what I have to do is put steel underneath it. I'll take you over to the table. I'll show you what I'm going to use for the actual plates. Hopefully you have enough steel right there on the original rocker, so I can go up and plate it and make sure it has enough area so it's completely protected. This is all about longevity. Once I get this done, I don't want to do it again. And we also have to make internal mounting points and all that stuff. So I'm going to, actually, I'm just going to finish up my coffee, then we're going to zip over there and we will take a look at what is my next hillbilly venture for the quarters. All right. Over here on the bench, here's the quarter that's going to be over on the side. As you can see, take a look right here. Take a look right here. This is just chipped. This is just for moving this thing around. I mean, and I've been setting them down fairly carefully, but the gel coat just snapped right off. So we're going to have to protect it, and I kind of want to protect it. So about right here. This gives me enough lip. So, and on the bottom, I'm going to drill holes and clamp it down with pop rivets and the adhesive and so forth like that. But that's for a later date. What are we going to use? Let me show you. This right here is what we're going to be using. This is the old quarter that came off of the Coupe GT that donated the top quarter, or the back half, or the top portion for the Sport Quattro. What this is going to be, or what this has, is metal. It has a lot of it. It's rusty over here, so I'm just going to cut it right there. I got to take the heat gun, take these rattle patches off, and take this center section out. So that way we can sit there and put it on there and find out which one actually works the best. And it gives us tons of metal. It's, you know, it's galvanized metal, so it works. And I just have to start trimming it, and you know what? We're not buying anything. And actually, some of the creases actually increase the strength. You know, hey, listen, I'm trying to justify it. You know, my hillbilly recycling attitude is trying like crazy to get this thing done. So let me go. Actually, I'm gonna finish my coffee, shut the camera off, then come back, then do all this stuff. So, all right, let me finish that up, and let's get that. the resistance welds that are holding this thing on. There was one here, one there, and one there. Those four little things. Here's the first thing we have to do. I just want to just make the initial cut on how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to put the edge right here where I'm going to use it. And I'm going to mark out or trace out where this quarter sits on it. Here, I'll cut a lot more than I have to. Wait. Initial cut will probably be an inch on the other side of all of this, of that initial spacing or initial tracing of the quarter. So we'll cut that out. That way we'll leave this right here for the other side. That way we can use that for the other side and this for this side and see what happens. First thing I want to do to start, I'm going to pick it over here, and I am going to cut this right up here and right there. This is going to lay up into here. I'm going to flatten that out. Actually, no, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to cut it down here, flatten this portion out so it covers. Then I will trim down to here, cut this, and lip it up. So it actually lifts up into this entire fiberglass thing, so it actually covers it all. That's my goal. So let me just make a couple of slices and go over to the anvil, tap it down, then I'll show you the other cuts. As you can see, I want this, and I want this to roll up to right about this line right here. That way it gives it all the protection from the bottom. I don't really worry about this. It's just anything that I can curve up inside. So how are we going to do that? I'm going to have to, I'm tracing this thing down here. That'll give me the line of how the fender angles. And I'm going to do this is where I got to start my bend upwards. So if I'm going to start my bend here and I have to bring it up to meet this, I'm going to basically take this out right here to right here, take all this out right there, then I can start my bend. Because I am going to, I'll probably like this to give me some overlap so I can weld it in. But for now, I will take this, everything covered in black, out. I'll just leave a little bit extra here because I just thought about it. I need a little bit extra so when I lap it over here and weld it, I have enough to weld to. So let me go cut this out, and I'm going to start my bend. To start the bends, I'm going to use a flanging tool. And the reason why is I just don't feel like going over to my vise. Well, for first tries, it's not that bad. I didn't notice this. This is straight all the way to here, then it lips up. So just be advised of that when you start doing this. So I have to bend it down a little bit. That way there's a gap right here is where it is. And this thing goes up, so I need to pound it down a little bit just to get that. See, it does. It goes down a little bit. Hopefully that works. Here's the bend that goes down a little bit. Here's the bend right here. And it's not bad. It's not bad. You know, maybe I did a little too much, but it's going to be okay. Now that I have this squared away, now at the back of the quarter. Take a look. This right here, when they cut it, they cut the ridge, the lip off of it. They must have been asking themselves, how can we save this guy some weight? Let's cut the mounting ridge off. So hey, well, thank God they're thinking of me. But what we have to do is start conforming this. As you can see all the way down there, conforming it to down there, and it all loops right up. So I have to get my marker, try and figure out where the bend is going to be to run it up inside, so we can actually get everything situated on it so we can bond it. That's my big thing. I just want to bond it. I could leave it like this, but I don't want to because I want to bond it better to the chassis. So that's kind of my whole thought process on this, is to get this done. So there. A little bit of gap right here, but not bad. It'll tighten up. I think that is good to measure up and weld, at least to the chassis. Then I can form fit everything, form fit. It's better on the chassis because it'll be welded. Okay, we're underneath the car, lying flat on my back. Make sure you grab old carpet spaces because even in the summer here, it's really cold in the concrete. Take a look. This is how it is. I want it pulled in as far as I can. This right here is a crossing point where I need to have a lip go down here. So if this is the crossing point, bring it all the way over to there. Put this on. Bring this all the way in as hard, as much as I can, and that's where the lip's going to start. And this, I marked the old crossing point, but this is where the crossing point will be. So I'm going to slice straight up here and then figure out where my lip is going to be, or how my lip is going to be. Because it's just going to be bent over. That's pretty much it. So let me go give this little thing a snip right there. I wonder if I give it a quick tack in here, and here, and here, just to see how tight this thing works. Experimentation 101. Let's give it a shot. Why not? Why not? Okay, these are the two places where I'm going to tack it. I'm not going to do it here because I'm probably going to use the hammer to pound it down more to the lip. Not really sure, but I think I'm going to give that a shot. All right, this is what we got. Actually, I'm pretty stoked about it. It's always like when you start doing all this stuff, you don't really know what you're going to end up with until you just like throw shit together and just make it do it. So this way, I've gotten the lower part of the quarter protected from rocks, which is a great thing. I got a lip to protect it, and I just put in, as you saw, I put in one screw. It's not going anywhere. I have the exact matchup right here. This is really, really close. Maybe I can't see virtually any different. Maybe a half a mil up on top. And on down here, it's a little low, but this thing looks like it's been hit one time in its life. Don't really know, but I am going to match, I'm going to make it equal over here anyway because I have to replace all this rust. Next thing, Lynn, let's go over here to this side. I'm going to start trimming up this panel to do the same thing there as I did here. That way we have that. Then we'll build the inside of the wheel well to make everything pretty much stationary. It's getting there. It's absolutely getting there. So let's go. Now we're here at the front. Now, as you can see, after all the adjustments, I didn't want to take too much off, but man, I did. I took a lot off. Yeah, it is what it is. Well, what we're trying to do now is we're trying to get the lines first straight. As you can see, this is the line that I want. And it's right on, it's pretty much right on the money where I want it, you know? And this is where it's all matching up. This one is a little off, you know, but I think it's fudgeable. What I got to do next is this thing has to go in like this. Now, I don't really know what I'm going to do yet. If I'm going to cut it right here to blend it in, or to blend it in with just a side cut over here. I haven't made up my mind yet. I think for the most part, I need to get this thing and this thing stationary to exactly where I want it. What I have to do now is I have to notch out a little bit to allow this to sit flat, because this thing is allowing it to protrude, and we don't want that. You want this thing as flat in as possible. So let me grab, I got my my handy air sauce, so I don't have to put my mask on. There's just a little bit. I mean, of course, if you smell any type of fiberglass, do not, put a mask on immediately. That's one of the few things, I hate doing it. It's just fiberglass. I hate it. But I've said that before, and I don't want to be a rerun. So let me just cut this up, and we'll get this going. This is up, this is in, this is just screwed in to hold it in. Happy about it. Remember this was the wheel well that we cut out of the 4000. And I cut the plates out to, for the extension plates. There's a reason why I use that door. Because this thing, sits up on the lip. It comes down like right there, so we can epoxy it in. And let me show you what my theory was, and it's actually worked. I don't believe it. I thought it was going to work. This is what I had in my mind. We're using that door for the rear crash protection. Let me show you. There's the door extension right there. As you can see, hacked in. It's in as far as I want. Now, if I take this well and go up and put it on the side and go like this, hey, it fits. And if you take a look over here, I have to extend down here and make this all in. And I have the brake cooling duct right here. And as I move the light over, here we go. This is the plates we're going to have to all build up, but it doesn't bother me. I have a brake duct right there that was used on the rally cars, but not on the road cars. But I might just use it. Who knows? I have to make the panels anyway, so if I make the panels, there's a good chance if I make the brake duct, it might look actually pretty cool. So then make that and weld this onto the door frame. I have to make a patch down here, of course, but at least something came out right, It looks terrible now, but it's getting better. It's getting better. Here we go. This is the width that I ended up with. What I did do was I cut all the panels that I cut before, which, I cut about this much off, which is about an inch. 25 mil, and I pretty much lapped it right here and just glob welded it, because I don't know why the welder, it's clean, but it just wouldn't do it. I don't know, maybe just because I'm tired. But what I'm doing is I gotta weld all that, and the biggest thing is I don't want to weld too much, because I don't want the heat to transfer over and distort the fiberglass or burn it or whatever. It probably wouldn't do it, but humor me, because I'm more nervous about the fiberglass, flares cost more than the car by about 3 times or 4 times than these cars. So let's run over to the other one. Well, don't want to lose that. All right, well, here you go. Here's the rear quarter for the right-hand side of the car. Remember, on the other side, it did not have this lip. So you have to expect inconsistencies with your quarters. There's nothing much I can do. I'm just going to cut this lip off, because the reason why is the other one I had the metal bend over and wrap around what was inside, but I had a complete flat surface here. And going up and going over that ridge, you know, the pinch weld looking ridge that I have, is just not gonna, it's just too much bending and too much complex curves. I can get more surface area by getting rid of this. I won't have any bubbles underneath it and clamping the metal right down to it. So let me get my air cutter out, and I'm going to cut that, and then we're going to measure it out, cut the metal on that, and start putting it on the Sport. See, it's getting there, slow but surely. All right, there it is. A little bit of bending on the table. Who says you need a fancy sheet metal brake? I mean, it's close. Yeah, I have to bring it up inside here, but I think I'll do that when it's on the actual car, because I'm not sure what I got to cut off or not. Let me do some prep work to the quarter, and I'll stick this on. Let's fit this up. Okay, I have the rear tray for the bottom of the quarter supported with a jack, and I have vice grips snapping the edge. What I did is I made sure and set it to this level right here on the rear tail light. It goes up great for the first thing, but when it curves upwards a little bit, this thing kind of falls to the wayside. But you know, that's just what it is, par for the course for this style of fender, because you want to sit over here. Here's the gas door. It's a good 10, 11 mils offset. Don't really know what to do. I haven't gotten to that point yet. That's on more in the finish work. But I also had to go over here, and where this bump and this body line bump, they are exactly equal, and I needed to do that. So now that these are equal, that's equal, this is just going to have to be done, but I'll give that thing a couple of good friggin' stitch welds, and we'll get on to putting in the front one here. Now that we have the front quarter with a screw in it, it's all the alignment marks are in. What we have to do now is set the bottom, and this is how I want the bottom. Pretty much just like that. It's in line with the back edge of the quarter. What I need to do is put a jack underneath it, jack the rocker up, and allow me to drill a hole so I can keep this stationary so we can build the inner wheel well. One thing, if you're going to be building one of these things, keep the rockers as long as you can, so you can just bend the metal up. And if the rocker, and what I mean by keeping the rockers as long as I can, you're cutting the tops anyway, so you're folding them out like this right here, and you fold it. If you have it out enough where you can just, you know, like I did on the other one, just jack it up a little bit, and that way you can just trim it right down the side, and you don't have to weld anything. Now, me not thinking about it and cutting the back part of this rocker, I now have to add metal in order to cover this stuff to protect it from the rocks. So that's just one tip that you should learn from my mistakes. And that was a mistake, but hey, let me grab the jack. I'm going to jack this thing up and put a hole in it, and that way we have the front, or we have this quarter set in order to build the inner wheel well. Well, this is the fender well that came from this Coupe GT, is what it did, as you can tell by the red paint. Now, what we're doing is fitting it here. So this lip on the inside is going to rest on, see there's a lip right here? This is what you want. This thing goes right in, and it's resting on that lip. That's where the panel bond is also going to be, but we need to weld this to the chassis. And that's what the extension plates were for. It's not going to be as much of an extension plate, but we have to do it anyway. The only thing we have is right down here, it's rusty and it kind of curves out, because possibility because it's a two-wheel drive, possibility because of these, you don't know. So I'm just going to cut it and make the plate for this side right here, to prevent rocks from chipping the fiberglass. And that's pretty much it. So let's strip. I'm going to just give this a quick cut, trim it, and then I'm going to go over there and I'm going to show you how I got rid of the undercoating on it. It's kind of cool, You're probably wondering, is he going to torch the thing off? Kinda. Before, a long time ago, when I was trying to take undercoating off most of like my rally car and stuff like that, I tried using a propane torch, hitting it right here, and it was smoky and awful and terrible and blah. Ugh, it was awful. I mean, maybe it's just one of those things the rites of passage you have to go through, but I don't wish that upon anybody, But what I did do, because I remember always welding and then the undercoating coming off on the other side. So what if I heated the back of it? And let's see if I did it on the other one, and you know what? I'll just show you what it does. And I use MAP gas just because it's pretty much the same price, but that's hotter. Well, that's how we're going to have it. It's going to be like this and weld it into there. I need to start right here at this point, and work beyond that. This will all be coming down covered. Then we have to do the filler plates all the way through. So hopefully we can just get this thing done. And it just stays right there. Damn. All right. Okay, next day. Guess what? Battery ran out, and I ran out of steam after doing this. When you're on your back up welding and trying to use, oh God, that's one of the awful things about doing a car on your back. And that's why I like a lift so much. I can just go in, and it's just so much simpler. And whenever a job's simpler, you can get a better job. It's like when I'm sitting at the welding bench with a TIG welder. You sit there, the first thing is you get comfortable, and then you just start taking. There you go. When you're flat on your back trying to do this, I mean, you get hack stuff, and you can't get much more hack than this. Hopefully in the end, after all my cleanup work, it'll look nice. You have to bear with me. Yeah, all this is just stuff I'm thinking up and I'm doing, and when I pull the fenders off and I start cleaning everything up, because to be quite honest, this quarter right here, with all the stuff that I put in it, it's going to take me probably one full day to clean it up. A full 8 hours of grinding, cleaning up, welding in small patches, filling in metal. Then it's just going to take an awful lot of time. This thing might actually take more than a day just because of the gas going. That one over there will take a day. It's just, that's what you have to do. And then, the boot or the trunk or whatever you want to call it, I call it the luggage compartment, that's going to take a day. And this is the process that you're going to be going through. And it's just one of those things that you have to sit there and look at it and accept it. And I accept it because my big thing is I just want to get the stuff in there. Cleaning up, yes, that takes a lot of time. Just putting the stuff in there and saying, oh, it's done. It's there. Okay, I have to put a gusset plate here to make it strong. It's there. Making a small gusset plate is irrelevant. It just takes 10 minutes. But, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Grinding this, grinding that, making sure this weld is clean. It's a process. But it's, getting the main stuff, the bulks stuff on how is it going to fit. Well, we now know how it's going to fit. Damn, it works. There we go. So let's run over to the table. I'll show you what I did for a template so we can just weld this up. Then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with the back, and we will end the episode at there, because the whole next episode's, the C pillars and the B pillars and the tie-ins to that and building the struts, that's all going to take single episodes. They're probably going to be an hour episodes, because there's going to be so much to cover, especially cutting, doing the C pillar and the B pillar and the tie-ins for the top. really edging toward probably that's going to be the next video, because I want to get the actual chassis, physical chassis, strengthened to the point where I know it'll accept a crash, or you'll do a rollover crash. And there'll be some other stuff in there, but let's run over to the table. Let's finish up that, do one small patch panel here, and we'll kind of call it to the end. All right, let's go. All right, this is the template I made. This is well oversized for what it is. I just took this. This is just the rest of the quarter of the car that donated the top half of that. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to keep it right here so I don't have to cut here, because all of it's going to be trimmed. All I want to do is just give me a rough cut. That's it, you know. Just cut over here. Then I'm going to put it on the anvil, pound it flat, get rid of all this rust. See what happens. This is what's going to happen. Wow, better to be lucky than good. All right, we're now here. As you can see, if I push this in, it goes up tight to the bottom part of that, and that's what I want. How did I get this thing to push up? Well, I used the jack from a 4000 Quattro. I pushed it out, and what happens is it's basically a little on the other side of center of this panel, and I want it pushed into the actual quarter, so it has a good lip there, or it's on the lip. When I push on the inside here, it acts like a fulcrum. Pushes it out to the lip. There we go. I'll weld in a couple of tabs here, and that way this will be cut, and I'll weld it right onto this, and hopefully it'll form itself down. At least that's my plan. Let's give it a shot. We have the wheel well extension that's in. Nothing's, you know, welded in it. I mean, because I have to first clean off the undercoating, but I want to take the quarter off, and I also want to get in that this fill plate right here that fills that, and this is what it is. Biggest thing is when I get all the fill plates in, I have to have a little strip right here that's also going to lock in the quarter, but I can't weld it all in because this quarter has to come off and fit back in. So this all has to be trimmed to the point where I can pull it, you know, this right here, all has to be trimmed so I can pull it right off, and it's all stationary. And when I do the panel bond, I put the panel bond in it, push it in, pop rivet it all in, and call it good. So let me just grab, I'm just going to go cut this and the other strip to do that, and so we can get this episode done and get this thing on the bloody road. Here we have the other donut quarter that we're going to use. Not bad. I mean, this is pretty much a rust-free one. I have to make the lip. I was going to actually use this lip and put it on the inside and cut it, but it's double skinned, and trying to pull it all off is just, and they put a whole bunch of black tar on it. You know, it's just not worth it. I can just put this on there and just fold up tabs. That's kind of what the whole thing is. Not, and plus the lip is going to be relatively small because I want it to be just barely noticeable. And when you paint it, hopefully it won't be noticeable at all. So we're just going to cut inch and a half, possibly 2 inches out of it. Just zip it out, call it good. Then we'll take the template right here and just put one there, one there. Yeah, just do it. All right, see this? It's, you know, I cut too much down here. I cut over here, just trying to get everything out. It's holes, the hole right here, but was already there. I'm gonna keep this door shell here, but this plate, you know, the joining plate is, you know, I'm not gonna be able to use the door door frame as the joining plate. Okay, sorry, because the quarter is so far forward. So we got the plate that I just cut up and cleaned up. And if I could put it over here like this, it'll cover everything up. I'll just have to grind down the undercoating, weld, weld, weld. I'll trim the stuff off on the inside, of course, but you know, that'll solve an awful lot of problems. And then we can put the strip right here onto this. But let's first, actually, I'm gonna probably just tack it right there or cut the undercoating. Not really sure yet. Well, it's tacked in. That way it gives me some leeway where I can move this around. This is pretty much when I can get this quarter off, that's when I'm going to roll the rest of it, because it's just because of the heat. And I can get into the back, slice off what I don't want, and tack the rest, or weld up the rest. Gotta weld a hole. But let's first get the strip right here. I'll show you what I'm doing there, and that'll be the end of it. All right, just got done grinding this. This is the stuff we cut out of that quarter. This is going to be the lip to protect the fiberglass from the rock. See, it's going to go in there where I'm going to weld it down here. It's going to go up and in there. This is where it's going to go. So it's going to protect everything. What I am going to do is I'm going to slice it here and bend it all up in order for it, not too much, but just enough so the rocks, if they come up, I mean, if they hit here, there's not enough impact, you know, force impact right here. But on the bottom, they're hitting more of a flat surface. It's much more of an flat thing. And when this is all tacked in, I'm just going to take the die and just run it right down. So it's absolutely, so you don't even see it. Let me cut a couple of slits, because I'm going to bend the slits, then bend them all up. That way I can get everything squared away into the wheel well, and we're going to call the episode. So let me do that. I'll give it a couple of tacks, and we'll finish up. Now, here's the tack, like this. Now I can just tack it right in, like this. Well, there we go. Got it pretty much tacked in. At least the rough fitment. You know, we now have the transmission tunnel in the correct place. We have stone guards that's going to protect the fiberglass. I haven't done the other side over there. I got to go over there and weld that. But I built everything, you know, I cut everything that's going to be exactly the same, so you don't need to see it. As in, what I think is accomplished at this point is a lot, because when we do, I'm going to save the, you know, all the trimming and getting the quarters prepped for, you know, putting them on with the panel bond and the pop rivets. That'll be the final fitment of the rear quarters. You know, because right now this is just, I just needed to build this stuff. I needed to cut it up and figure out where is it going to go, because I have no idea. I'm making this up like as I go along, just like I tell you all the time. Now, what I want to do next is I'm not going to go forward. I'm not going to do the rockers. I'm not going to do the front fender tie-ins. I am going up. What we need to do is to tie in the P pillar with the C pillar. That is a big thing for me. I want to make sure that, I mean, we already have a good tie-in with the sunroof, but I'm going to tie or connect all of that together with some extra bracing in the top. Seeing how I'm not going to have seats, so I'm going to cut into the headroom of the seating area in the back. Who cares? But I'm going to hide some stuff and make it look retro 80s. That's what I want to do, you know? And that way I can get this stuff all done. After that, we'll be fitting the roof and fitting the panels, you know, right here for a permanent welding. So, if I have the top done, that means I can put it on a spigot and bring it over to a sandblaster and sandblast it all. Or the back half. That's the only part that's really rusty, you know? Other than that, thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. You know, I'm nothing special, just a hillbilly recycler that doesn't know any better to stop. That's all. And you can all of you can do it. I don't care who you are, you can do it. So thanks for showing up again, and hey, we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.